My name is Andy Wahlberger, and I am the Executive Director of Stanford Professionals in Real Estate. And we want to get this night started. We've got a full program. We're really looking forward to honoring Bob Lowe and Tad Toby. We welcome all of you. I'm going to turn the time over to our chairman, Sam Freshman, to start the evening.
I want to welcome all of you on behalf of Spire, and particularly those people who have come to honor our honorees. And particularly, I have sort of a personal relationship with Tad. He and I are both of the class of '54, and I think we're the only 54 people here. I want to also thank those people who've made this dinner such a success. I want you to know that this is the first time, and it's a real tribute to our honorees, that we were completely sold out and had a waiting list of about 20 people. There's a few people that really demand the credit. As chairman, I usually get the credit, but frankly, the idea of the chairman is to take the credit and leave the work to somebody else. So I want Stephanie and Jennifer to stand up, please. And I want all of the board of directors, and don't be like the last time. Everybody, don't be shy. Come on, Chad, you lead it. Everybody else, all aboard. Malin, stand up. We have some of our governors here and our regional directors. These are the people, together with those of you who are active members of Stanford real estate alumni. We've had people here who've had city dinners and other things. And the guy that started this with his friends, Pat Orozco and the whole gang, Chad Hagel, I'm going to turn it over to you and, as usual, let you do the work.
First order of business, everyone please eat. I don't like speaking to a hungry audience. I've found that doesn't go over well. So I thank Sam Freshman for the introduction and for the greeting. It's absolutely my pleasure to be back here at Stanford for the fourth installation of the Stanford Real Estate Hall of Fame and part of the Stanford Real Estate Weekend. We had a phenomenal conference today and over the past 2 days with the Stanford Real Estate Council. The members of the Stanford Real Estate Council are joining us here tonight, having had a wonderful conference today, as I said. And as I shared with the members of the SREC this morning, as I was preparing for this weekend's activities and festivities, I was looking for that little bit of inspiration, that message, that theme, that thought that would define what we were doing here this weekend. And I had this field of dreams moment earlier this week, and these two words came to me. And the words were, go beyond. And so that was a theme that I shared this morning with the SREC, and it was part of the theme of our day and everything that we covered as part of the conference. But we're going beyond tonight as well. As Sam shared, this has been a phenomenal event season for us with the Hall of Fame honors. We've had two phenomenal honorees and tremendous support from their families. So I'd like to, again, thank Bob Lowe and the Lowe family, thank Tad Toby and the Toby family for everything they've done and for joining us tonight and making this evening possible. Thank you. So going beyond, the SREC, just to fill you in a little bit, is the group and the collection of our highest level members who are truly luminaries from the real estate industry. And that group has now grown to 85 members in its fourth year and is capped at 100 members by charter. So we feel that by this time next year we'll be looking at a waiting list for that organization. And Spire, as an organization, has certainly gone beyond any of the expectations that I or my colleagues might have had 5 years ago when we founded the organization. Today, with over 1,500 members nationwide and worldwide, the organization is truly changing the landscape of the Stanford alumni picture. The group includes both alumni as well as spouses, sons, daughters, parents of alumni, and friends of Spire who have joined the organization because of the desire to share in this affiliation with Stanford and with everything we have to offer. I've been told in the past by Howard Wolf, the president of the Stanford Alumni Association, who sends his regards, was unable to be here with us this evening, but Judy Heller of the SAA is here in his stead, and I welcome Judy and thank her for attending. He said that we're the only Stanford Alumni Club, which is our official charter designation here at the university, that has a full-time staff. As you've heard, we have 3 full-time staff members who do a phenomenal job. We're the only organization that is an independent 501c3 and that is off the university's balance sheet and responsible for its own fiscal well-being. I'm proud to say that the organization is in very sound shape and is performing very strongly and is going to be around for many, many years to come. The organization, so you know what we're founded on and what our mission is, was built on 3 pillars. The first pillar is alumni professional networking. And within that first pillar, in this past year and in the year continuing ahead of us, we execute a number of programs around the country. We have small group dinners that are hosted by our SREC members. We do a variety of project tours for projects that are in construction and development or newly finished. And we will be renewing this year in 2015 an international excursion to tour real estate product and development in countries around the globe. The second pillar of Spire, and one of my favorites, is student outreach. We're joined here tonight by Stanford students, who will be introduced to you later, who have benefited directly from the efforts of Spire in this past year, in which we launched our mentor program for the first year. We also have participated in job placement as well as providing career showcase events for students who are interested in or may not know yet that they're interested in pursuing a career in real estate. Finally, the third pillar of the organization is educational program development. We had a wonderful presentation today at the SREC conference regarding sustainable urban systems, which is a new initiative as part of the School of Engineering to push forward in a multidisciplinary approach to solving the big problems of urban development worldwide. And we have gotten directly involved in and stand behind that program in supporting the building of an endowment to make sure that that program continues into the future. We also provide a lot of material, as well as many of us, including myself, have been fortunate enough to participate in the classroom and actually lecturing and being guest lecturers and teaching Stanford students. Well, this year we will also be partnering with the Stanford Center for Professional Development to offer for the first time a course for executives entitled Leadership for Real Estate Projects, which will be the first executive education initiative offered in the field of real estate. So as you can see, there are many ways that Spire is going beyond. We're going beyond expectations and going beyond just being an alumni organization to having a strong and lasting foundation and participation here at the university. And we're very proud to be in that role. We get to add tonight the first time that we will be publicly showcasing one other way that we're going beyond, and truly a unique way. I believe, and if I'm wrong, Judy Heller can correct me on this, that tonight we will officially become the first Stanford alumni club that has its own theme song. There is a gentleman that you're about to meet who is a graduate of the Stanford class of 2014 by the name of Kai Kite. Kai is a Washington, D.C. native, but came to Stanford to study a combination of business as well as to continue to pursue his musical career. He performed at an event called Stanford Connects, and that was my first opportunity to meet him down in Pasadena. And I was enchanted by his musical abilities and his composition abilities. And so we approached Kai and asked him if he'd be interested in composing a theme song for our organization that could capture the spirit of innovation represented by Spire, as well as capturing the lasting tradition of Stanford University. And thankfully, Kai agreed, and with the generosity of our two patron sponsors, Bill Tooley and Mark Berger, we were able to retain Kai and have him produce a specialty composition for us, which he will now play for all of you. So without any further delay, I'm very pleased to introduce Kai Kite to perform the Spire theme song for the very first time. Enjoy.
Isn't Kai awesome? It's been so much fun for us to work with him as we've worked on this composition. Please continue to finish up your salad, but we wanted to recognize 2 students tonight. One of the important things that we're doing is working on campus to fund, support, and help our students. And so we'd like to provide 2 grants tonight to current students and some of the work that you're doing. The first is Derek Oyang, and in a minute here you'll see some information about Derek. I invite Derek to come forward. Derek received his degree last spring in architectural design and has come back for a master's program. And his focus right now is called the Global Urban Development Program, and it's a global team of 21 students across multiple universities working in multidisciplinary teams, online collaboration on a real problem in Stockton. I invited Derek to come forward. We're going to provide this grant to him, and then we'll give him a 30-second elevator pitch to talk about the program that we're funding. Derek.
First of all, thank you so much for the honor to receive this grant. We were actually fortunate to receive a grant in 2012 for the Stanford Solar Decathlon project, which was really helpful to help us complete that. And since then, I've been expanding sort of my own understanding of the building industry to not just be about architecture, engineering, construction, but to include development and also on the end of that, planning, policy, all these different things that affect our cities. And I think I can say, being a Stanford student, going through the undergraduate process and being a graduate student now, students are going beyond in the sense that we're demanding for more real-world, hands-on, and interdisciplinary education. And we want that because we know that with the challenges that await us when we become professionals, it's going to be more and more important to bring people from all around the world together, from different disciplines, to have real impact in real cities. And this is an educational program that I've been organizing now with some friends in Europe to try to foster that at the student level so that when they go into their careers, that they already have these experiences and they have this motivation to work on challenges. Stockton is just the first one we'll approach. That's in collaboration with the planning department and the district council member there. And from there, we'll move on to all kinds of projects, and hopefully this becomes a standard experience for students, starting at Stanford and then at universities all around the world. So I just wanted to say thank you very much to everyone that made this happen, and this grant will help us do even more to get these students actually to meet each other potentially, not just work online, and then give us more resources to keep doing this. So thank you very much.
We reached out to several students, and 2 students were so fabulous we wanted to recognize both of them. And so we awarded one, and then we wanted to give another grant. And so we reached out to Tad Toby, who's been very supportive. And through some of the grant that Tad provided our organization, we were able to provide a second grant to this student. This is Elisa Cooperman, and you'll see her slide here in a minute. She's a Harvard undergrad, and she's earning her PhD in the Civil Environmental Engineering Department. And she's focusing on smart building systems across campuses. Think like Microsoft campus or Google's campus. And how do you have multiple office buildings? Think about energy efficiency, smart buildings, and her research will help her to travel to some of these campuses, the software that will analyze this, and will further her research. Elisa cannot be with us tonight. She had, unfortunately, a grandfather pass away this week, and so she's attending to that. But we invited Michael Lepek, one of her professors, to come forward to receive her grant, and appreciate Michael being here tonight. Appreciate it. That's it for this section of the evening. We're going to clear the salad plates, move on through the evening, and thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'll continue with the evening, get into the heart of our program. Each year, I'm truly honored, and it's quite a treat to be able to interact with the honorees, their families, their organizations, and this year is no exception. We have 2 phenomenal honorees in Bob Lowe and Tad Toby, and they have definitely distinguished themselves. They individually have gone beyond, as is the theme of our evening, and have established themselves as members of a community, members of the Stanford community, members of their local community. And it's been a treat for me in working with Bob Lowe and his family. As the son of a developer, it's been a great experience for me to see how their family operates and how they operate within their business. The difference is that Bob's two sons, Rob and Mike, get to work across the hall from him, whereas I get to work across the country from my own father, which sometimes makes things a little easier. But as I said, it's been a real treat to get to know Bob and his family. You will see the first of 2 tribute videos this evening, which were produced by Susan Niesloss, who has been doing these video tributes for us for the 4 years that we've been running the Hall of Fame. And I think you'll agree after you see the program that it's a phenomenal showcase of the life and achievement and the legacy of these 2 fine gentlemen. And you'll also have an opportunity to hear, if you listen carefully, at the beginning of the piece, our Spire theme song woven into these tribute videos, as it will be going forward. So if you're still humming that tune, this will be your opportunity to revisit it. So without any further ado, I will turn it over to the video monitors. Enjoy the presentation.
On the golf course and in life, you see a common thread with Bob, and that is he's constantly wishing to do better.
Bob is a great listener, but he will have no problem telling you what he thinks after he's listened to everybody's comments.
The 3 things that matter most to him in life: his family, his company, and his community.
Bob's a guy who's quiet in his demeanor. He's measured. His brain is working at 100 miles an hour all the time.
I don't think I've ever heard him swear. He might have said gee whiz once or something, or drat, perhaps.
If you want to get the most out of your resources, you want to get the job well done, the first call you would make is to Bob Lowe.
One of the key reasons for my dad's success in life, and particularly in business, has been his unflappability.
Well, he's not always unflappable, I can say that for sure.
One of the important things about going to Stanford and getting my MBA there was the quality of your peers. What I learned from my peers there has been important to me from the day I left. When I was at Stanford, I got thinking about what I wanted to do with my life, and I was attracted to real estate for several reasons. One, my dad was in the business as a mortgage lender, mortgage banker. But perhaps more important, I decided I wanted to deal in a career that I was working with a tangible product, something that you could work on and it would be there after you're done working on it, and you could add some creativity to it.
We have over $5 billion of assets under management now. It includes hospitality assets for about half of that, office assets for roughly a third, and then a growing amount of multifamily and retail.
The reserve in Indian Wells, California, 450-acre project that my partners and I had the good fortune of developing about 15 years ago, was really fun because we started out with a parcel in the desert that most people couldn't envision ever being a residential community. And it came to fruition as a really terrific private golf course with 240 wonderful home sites and now 250 terrific members. Terranea was one of the more recent projects we've completed. And I remember walking the 100 acres that were really in a disastrous condition as we were buying it, and talking with Rob and Mike and saying, you know, you don't get an opportunity many times in a lifetime to take 100 acres sitting on this point in the Pacific in the middle of 20 million people. We just can't mess this one up. We got to do it right.
The bank went under and stopped funding on his construction loan, and so then he scrambled to hold it together, find other financing, get it completed, which it was completed on time and on budget.
I had the opportunity to appoint an independent director, and Bob Lowe joined us in the early 90s. Thanks to Bob Lowe, we grew from $400 million revenue business with a staff of about 4,000 to today 45,000 employees doing $8 billion of revenue.
We acquired the Howard Hughes Center, a massive development, master planned project. If you drive down the 405 today, you will see how Lowe Enterprises, and Bob particularly, and his team were involved in the master planning of that project, were involved in the construction of the high-rise buildings throughout the project.
Not an iconic project, but one that is very, very important to me is our very first project. When we started our company in 1972, we had the opportunity to acquire 6 or 7 acres in downtown Aspen, Colorado. And we developed the Gantt, a 143-unit condominium project that we still operate today on behalf of the owners.
He sold those units in the early days for like $100,000. Today those units, I'm told, sell for $1 million to $4 million each.
My big focus right now is the Los Angeles Metropolitan YMCA that I've had the honor to be on the board for some 20 years. I'm sharing an effort to raise another $30 million of new endowment for the YMCA of Metropolitan Los Angeles that would be strictly to support our efforts in the urban communities.
Bob was the chair of the board at Claremont McKenna College in the late 90s, early 2000s. And during that time, we went through a presidential transition. And like most colleges and universities, those were very risky times for the organization. Bob was the calm captain of the ship in a storm through that period of time. And if it wasn't for Bob's leadership, it would have been a much rockier transition.
I think the thing that Bob is most proud of, actually, is not his accomplishments, not his history as an Eagle Scout, but the fact that he's been able to get each of his grandkids on the floor of Congress to see a vote take place, to see how government works. That's how Bob works. That's how he thinks.
It's amazing to me to watch his reach politically, whether it's in Washington, D.C., with the senators, the congressmen, or whether it's the state of California, an elected official. He really cares.
We started going to the Gantt when I was about 5 years old on family vacation. There were a lot of people that would like to go skinny dipping in those days. And so I remember that, him feeling like he was, responsible for the property, even though we were there on vacation with the family. He would get up in the middle of the night, it seemed like just about every night, and have to throw the skinny dippers out of the hot tub.
He drove me to an office building where he was going to pick up a paper that was being typed that he had written for college. And he drove about 1 block in the middle of Glendale and stopped and pulled out the ring. He had actually gone to pick up the ring, and he couldn't wait any longer than a block. So it was a very unromantic place where he asked me to marry him.
My brother and I were young, and we were on a family vacation in Hawaii, and the phone rang, and he disappeared for 5 minutes, came back and reported our multi-million-dollar condominium project in Palm Desert had burned to the ground. And his response was, "Well, boys, time for a Mai Tai."
Bob and I agreed that it would be much better for us to hire each other's sons in our companies as interns. We did this, and my son Rick came to work at Lowe, and I hired later on Rob and Mike. Now, as it turns out, 30 plus years later, Rick is still here at Lowe, and Mike and Rob are co-presidents at Lowe. So I don't know whether Bob could foresee this or whether this is just something that would have happened.
Bob's success, in my estimation, his legacy, if you will, is that he always has been committed to creating value, tangible, measurable value.
I think he'd like to be remembered as someone who was kind and industrious. He'd like to feel that people felt he had made a difference.
What greater legacy than to have 2 of your own children now being so intimately involved in not only the present but the future of the company. Bob's legacy is also throughout Southern California and elsewhere. Bob was chairman of the Real Estate Roundtable, the singularly most important real estate organization.
I would like for people to remember me as someone who did what I said I was going to do, for someone that dealt with people around him in a fair way, and number one, a person that did put his family first. And you look back, if you didn't spend the time to nurture and love your family, everything else wouldn't be important. And that's more clear to me today than ever before.
It's always good to be back here on campus. I think the last time I was in this spot, it was a parking lot, and my fraternity lied right over there, and either fortunately or unfortunately, the fraternity didn't make it through my sophomore year. We got thrown off campus, and I had a much better studying situation in my junior and senior years. But, I mean, well done on that video. It's, I think it captures my dad so well that it doesn't leave a lot to be talked about. So maybe I'll just embellish or talk about a few of the items from that video. First of all, you notice that my mom and I contradicted each other on unflappability. But mine was qualified as it relates to business. Second, Fred Allen mentioned that my dad never swears. Third, I think it was clear that you got that how important family is to him. Fourth, I think it's also clear how important sort of fair play and being fair and being treated fairly. And then finally, if you can kind of take it all in, you get a sense for how just the strong feeling of responsibility he has for everything that he's involved with. And all of that used to come to a rapid, a huge collision on family vacations. And my mom and my dad would just go through all this planning effort to make the perfect vacation. And then, of course, we'd miss a connection and the airlines wouldn't accommodate, or we got a car that was too small for all of us, or the rooms were wrong. And he had all that frustration from being unflappable that he had buried in the office, and it would get unleashed upon the poor individual in the travel industry that was getting in the way of our perfect vacation. But then on the other side, there was the office, and he has been this calm leader that has guided Low Enterprises through tremendous success. And was talked about the Terranea project on the video, and we opened that up in June 2009 when everything was crashing around us, and our lender had been taken over by the federal government and didn't fund the rest of our loan, and our partners were kind of running for the hills. And it seemed like every day something new was hitting us, but my dad was there calmly through that whole process, and we would carefully address each issue, make decisions, move on to the next day. And that project is probably now, which was on the brink, is maybe the greatest success that Low Enterprises has ever had. And for Mike and I think for both of us, it was by far the greatest business education that we had ever experienced, going through how to solve a problem like that. And I think now we're both really prepared for, or we feel like we're prepared for anything that can possibly hit us. So when I think about my dad, it's both those things. It's the perfect leader and mentor in the office who was unflappable, but then in the family side, he cared so much that he did let his emotions come through, and he wasn't unflappable. And we saw that emotion. And thank you, Dad, so much for being both the perfect mentor and partner in the office and the perfect father. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mike, and he'll share a few stories.
So my freshman dorm was right there, and his fraternity was right there. And we did overlap a year. It was not a good thing. So he was clearly the visionary. I mean, starting the company 42, 43 years ago in the real estate business. He came out of some entrepreneurial real estate jobs and other businesses and started the company and clearly had a vision that we're all benefiting from now. He was also a leader, obviously, of our family in close partnership with our mom, who's here tonight, Beth. His style was actually similar in both work and family. He led our family in his own style. He mixed a very dedicated, loving parenting approach with a heavy dose of executive skill applications. I can remember some epic New Year's days when it was time to talk about New Year's resolutions, where he would pull out his now infamous legal-sized yellow pad, categorized for New Year's resolutions. And he always went first and went through the various categories and what he was going to do better this year. And we all sat there and said, that's tough to compete with. He also taught us very early on that every meeting that he goes into, and some of you I'm sure have experienced this, he has an agenda. You may have your agenda, but he has an agenda. And he's taught that to us, to all of our colleagues over and over again. Don't go into a meeting without your agenda and make sure you get it addressed. He did that in the family environment as well. He's approached his community activities in a very similar way. He's intensely focused when he needs to be, but at the same time, he can be relaxed and collegial with whoever he's working with in whatever situation, especially when the job is done for the day. I can recall him coming into my room when I was in high school, and he said, Mike, I need your help. We're having a Christmas party at the office, and our team has asked me to deliver a speech in rap music style. And if you know our dad, you know that that is Greek to him. And my task was enormous. And granted, I didn't quite get all the nuances transferred over to him, but he went through with it because that's the person he is. He didn't want to let his team down. They asked him to do something, and he did it. We've seen this kind of intensity with him as misbehaving kids. I can remember a time when one of his sons, it wasn't my brother, got into trouble at summer school, and when the hatchet came down, I remember him on the phone with the administrator reading the Riot Act, saying, you've been way too punitive to my son. And even though I had made mistakes, he stepped up for me like he always has, not just for me, but for people in his company, and supported them. He has a powerful ability to avoid passing blame and judging people and moving on and focusing on how we solve the problem and move forward in a positive way. And I've seen the value of that so many times in my life as a son and as employee of Low Enterprises. So as sons, we respect him as a close life advisor. We trust that he always has our best interests in his mind. We witness him every day now at 74 years old, selflessly transitioning the leadership of the firm that he built starting 42 years ago and transferring the leadership to the next generation. Not only Rob and I, but the other key senior management team of our firm. And he's doing it in a way where he has our best interests in his mind and not his. And it's really enviable to watch that process unfold. And as dads and businessmen and hopefully aspiring community leaders compared to what he's done, the two of us have been blessed with the opportunity to learn from the best. Listening him to his, to the story that I told on the video tonight, that lesson of him throwing the skinny dippers out of the pool when we were in very young age was actually very powerful. We saw him stepping up above the line and committing to what he says and what he's taught all of us every day. It is do the right thing, do what you say you're going to do, and always put family first. And speaking of family, with all 6 of his core family nucleus, not only he and Beth and Rob and I, but our 2 wives, we both met and have Stanford degrees. So Stanford has played a huge role in our family. So this honor is something that we are particularly pleased for him to be receiving. And I'm particularly pleased to see that he is actually joining the Stanford Hall of Fame even before Andrew Luck. So we really have a milestone here tonight that Dad can be really proud of. So on behalf of my dad and mom and Christy and Suzanne and Rob and I, we want to wish you big congratulations. Thank you, thank you.
Wow. Thank you very much, Rob and Mike, for those really kind comments. Among other things, you guys are making my gradual move into retirement both productive and enjoyable. It is a great evening. I hope you are all enjoying it. I certainly am. I'm pleased to have my Northern California family here with me this evening. My brother Tom and his wife Sue and their family and my nieces and nephews. Thank you for being here. I am particularly honored to share this evening with Tad Toby. I had the great fortune of being born in this country. I have real admiration for Tad, who did not have that advantage and yet has achieved the American dream. Congratulations to you, Tad. I appreciate my friends and associates that participated in the video, and I particularly thank the editor who left all the bad things out. Thank you. Or most of the bad things, Beth. In thinking about this evening, 2 concepts came into mind. First, clearly, I have arrived at the senior age category. I mean, have you ever heard of a young person being accepted into any Hall of Fame? No, they're always from the elderly group, and a lot of them are has-beens, which I'm not yet classifying myself into the second category. Second, and more significant, is the importance of friends and partners. I am very fortunate to have this evening here some very close and longtime friends. 3 weeks ago, we had a companion event like this in Los Angeles, where I was surrounded by a couple hundred of my friends and associates there. And all of that reminded me how important friends are in one's life. But not just friends. Friends that have made me a better person and have made my life more complete. I'm fortunate to have friends that have motivated me, that have made my life more fun, have made me laugh, that have been an important part of my family, have supported my sons, and now supporting my grandchildren, our grandchildren, excuse me. Friends with whom we've traveled, with whom I have argued politics, with whom I've skied, with whom I have exchanged dollars on the golf course. If I had not had these caring, thoughtful friends, my life would not be as complete as it is. Let's talk about partners and the importance of partnerships. As a young man just starting my career, I learned the importance of selecting good partners. It was clear to me then that I was motivated to accomplish more than I was capable of doing myself. I wanted to build more projects. I was motivated to do more and better investments. I was motivated to manage a greater variety of assets. I was motivated to do more in my community. It was clear the only way I could do that was with talented and loyal partners. We have built Low enterprises around talented and loyal partners. Our bankers and financial partners have enabled us to do more. Our lawyers and consultants have brought things together and made deals work. Our agents in the real estate industry have represented us well. And my partners at Low, what can I say? Some of them have been at my side for most of the 42 years. All have contributed. They have made me so fortunate and so proud. My partners in the community at Stanford, at Claremont McKenna College, at the Low Institute of Political Economy, the YMCA of Metropolitan Los Angeles, my church, my other activities I've chosen to be involved with. It's made my life more fulfilling because of the partners I've had along with me. Rob and Mike, now my partners in building our firm for the future. I'm actually enjoying beginning to work for you guys. I am fortunate.
We'll talk about your bonus later.
I got my bonus tonight, thanks. I have a great relationship with their wives, with our grandchildren. It's really terrific. And of course, there's Beth, my most important and closest partner of all. You have been supportive at all the business turns. I would not have started Low Enterprises without your encouragement. We have been together as we climbed over every hurdle, and there's been more than a few. We share our commitment to our community, particularly to help kids in need. We love our family. We've had a great 52 years. To all of the students here this evening, focus on your friendships. Choose your partners wisely. Your life will be better if you make the right decisions with your friends and partners. Thank you.
It is with tremendous pleasure that we present on behalf of Spire this plaque to recognize Bob Lowe and his induction into the Stanford Real Estate Hall of Fame. Congratulations, Bob.
Do I get to keep it tonight?
Yes, you get to keep it. Take it home.
I got it a couple weeks ago, too. Thanks.
And please, we'll go ahead and clear the plates from the dinner service and move forward with our program for the evening. Next, we have the great opportunity to again go beyond what we've done in the past as Spire, and that is that tonight, for the very first time as an organization, though it is our 4th Stanford Real Estate Honors Banquet, it is the first time that we have the opportunity to honor a member of the Stanford faculty. When I first came to campus after the founding of Spire, we started pursuing this third pillar that I spoke of earlier in the evening, which is educational program development. One of the things that Stanford prides itself on is the concept of multidisciplinary education and research, working across institutes here at the school, working across schools, between graduate schools, undergraduate programs, and the like, and using that as a platform to educate students and to solve the great problems of the world. One of the best examples of this here at Stanford is the Woods Institute for the Environment. It is truly a pioneering organization which has brought together over 150 faculty members from throughout the university to solve major environmental challenges in our world. The leader here on campus of the Woods Institute is Buzz Thompson. Buzz Thompson is not only a professor of natural resources law here at Stanford, but as I said, he is the director of the Woods Institute for the Environment. He earned an MBA in 1973 and a law degree in 1975, and he has been recognized many times over as a leader in environmental studies and environmental law. We have the great honor and pleasure as Spire to add to those recognitions that have been bestowed upon Buzz Thompson and to make him the first recipient of Spire's award for faculty recognition for study in the field of property, real estate, and environmental preservation. It is a great honor for us, not a great honor for him per se, but a great honor for us, let me emphasize, that Buzz has joined us. As I said, he is a champion of the environment, and he's been recognized many times over. And one of the topics that he has studied the most, and I think is very important to those of us here in California, is water. It is one of our most precious resources. It is the lifeblood of development and the lifeblood of our survival here. And he, in accepting his award tonight, has also agreed to share with us some remarks regarding his studies and some remarks regarding the future of water and this precious resource here in the state of California. So it is my pleasure to welcome to the stage, both to receive his honor and to present to us this evening, Buzz Thompson, the director of the Woods Institute for the Environment here at Stanford.
So it is a great honor to be up here on the stage this evening and to share this evening with such titans and heroes in the real estate development area as Bob Lowe and Tad Tobey. It's also a little bit worrisome, only because as the first faculty honoree, you also wonder whether or not you might be the last faculty honoree if you don't do a decent job up here. So I'm going to keep my remarks relatively short, and I really just want to talk about three things. The first thing is I want to welcome you all back to Stanford University if you haven't been here recently. You're actually on the law school grounds here. When you were earlier this evening at the reception, that's actually the William Rehnquist courtyard out there. And I had the honor of clerking for Bill Rehnquist when I finished my JD MBA here at Stanford. Bill Rehnquist always advised that I should start out any sort of a talk of this nature by giving a lawyer joke, because you were supposed to act contrary to stereotype by actually showing that you had a sense of humor as a lawyer. And I used to try that all of the time, but unfortunately I found that none of the lawyers in the crowd ever found those jokes very funny, and all of the non-lawyers in the crowd never realized they were jokes. So as a result of that, I've actually stopped doing that. So the second thing I want to do is I just want to thank Spire. I want to thank Spire for creating such a robust alumni organization as this. I also want to thank Spire for all of the support that you have provided to Stanford University through programs such as the Sustainable Urban Systems program, which is a new program here at Stanford, which is really designed to ensure that the billions of people around the world that are pouring in greater numbers every day into urban areas have decent housing and a decent environment within which to live. I also want to thank you for all of the support that you are providing Stanford students today. I can tell you that the Stanford students who are here this evening and those that are on the campus as a whole are, number one, exceptionally bright, exceptionally creative. Second of all, they truly care about society, and they want to make sure that they, through their careers, actually contribute to the betterment of society. And third of all, they're not waiting until they graduate in order to be able to take their skills and improve society. Many of them, while they are students here, are actually creating businesses, are creating nonprofit organizations, and making this a better world for everybody who lives within it. The third thing I want to do is just to talk very briefly about my two major interests, my two major loves. The first is actually the area of real estate, and the second is the area of water resources. And my interest in both of them came from my grandfather on my maternal side. My grandfather started out as a farmer in the Owens Valley here in California. And he actually liked the farming business, but in the early 1920s, he decided that it was pretty hard work and that he was probably going to go and find something else to do. And the city of Los Angeles came along, and the city of Los Angeles offered to buy his water rights from him along with the land. And he told Los Angeles he didn't want to do that. He actually thought that he had a pretty good farm. He wanted his farm to remain as a working operation. And so he turned down the city of Los Angeles, and instead he sold to another farmer who he thought was going to continue to farm his land. Turned out that other farmer was a front for the city of Los Angeles. And so the city of Los Angeles got his water, took his water, put it into the Los Angeles Aqueduct, which brings water to this day from the Owens Valley down to Los Angeles. My grandfather, however, took the money that he had gotten from that front for the city of Los Angeles, moved down to the San Fernando Valley, and started to develop real estate using the water that Los Angeles had taken from him and was moving down to the San Fernando Valley. Now, Yeah, I was going to say, my grandfather was pretty smart, all right? So as a result of the work that my grandfather did, and the other real estate developers at that period of time, and the water that Los Angeles had actually moved from the Owens Valley down to Los Angeles, the San Fernando Valley, an area of about 260 square miles, is today one of the key economic areas of the state of California. It's an area that supports over 2 million people. It's an area that supports an exceptionally strong industry consisting of the movie business, the television business, a variety of industries. It is a vital area. It is critical to the state of California. Unfortunately, though, my father's farm, or my grandfather's farm, was right on the Owens River. And as a result of Los Angeles's purchase of his property and a variety of other properties along that particular river, the Owens River dried up, and so did Owens Lake, an area about 2/3 of the size of the San Fernando Valley. Today, Owens Lake has a little bit of water in it, but it's largely a dust bowl. And it is an area that actually contributes the greatest air pollution in the state of California. So I grew up hearing these stories from my grandfather and wondering whether or not we could do what my grandfather and the city of Los Angeles was able to accomplish with the San Fernando Valley, building a robust community, but to do it in a way which was also sustainable, that did not destroy the natural environment, which is also a key portion of the state of California, and which is one of the reasons why people flock to the state of California to this very day. Making that even more difficult today, in order to build up areas like the San Fernando Valley, while at the same time continuing to support our natural environment, is the fact that the amount of precipitation that has been falling in the state of California over the last several years, as you know, has been declining. And in fact, all of the studies suggest that over the next 50 or 100 years, we will actually have less water available in the state of California than we do today. A recent study that was conducted here at Stanford University shows that the weather conditions that we have suffered over the last 3 years, and for those of you who do not know very much about the current drought we're in, the major cause of the drought was something called the ridiculously resilient ridge, which sat off of the northwest coast of the United States and has been blocking the normal storms from flowing down here into California, is 3 times more likely to occur today than it was likely to occur 50 years ago. So what we have to figure out today is how do we continue to develop, how do we continue to grow, but with a more limited water supply and ensuring that as much water as possible remains in our rivers and streams. The real estate business has contributed tremendously to that particular goal. The amount of water that we use in California actually peaked in 1980 and has gone down since then, even though we are actually accommodating more people in the state of California today than we did just 35 years ago. In addition to what you all have been able to do, in able to helping us to ensure that our environment stays whole at the same time that we're able to accommodate more people. Here at Stanford, we're also working on a variety of new technological solutions. So Craig Criddle, who's a professor in civil and environmental engineering, along with Tom Cantwell, who's a professor in astronomics and aeronautics, have actually been working on new technology in the area of water recycling, where they're able to do 2 things that we have not done effectively before. The first thing is that they are maximizing the amount of energy that we can actually get out of wastewater. We are in the process of opening up a new resource recovery center here on the Stanford campus that is going to be utilizing this particular technology. And this particular technology can take wastewater, and not only can it provide us with clean drinking water, but it also will provide us with net energy. In other words, it will provide us with more energy than you actually introduce into the process in order to clean the water. It also will provide us with other resources such as nitrogen and potassium. So we'll actually treat wastewater as a resource. In addition to that, this particular technology is highly decentralized, so that historically what we have been doing is collecting wastewater, moving it down to a centralized wastewater facility, treating that. And if you think about where you build wastewater facilities are always at the lowest point in a city, because historically what we would do is we would take that water and we would dispose of it in a river or stream. This particular technology, you can set up in individual neighborhoods so that you can actually at that particular point distribute it within the neighborhood without significant additional pipes. So my hope is that working jointly with you, working between the type of technology that's being developed here and the dedication that the real estate business has had to actually preserving water, that we in the future will, again, be able to accomplish something that my grandfather would have appreciated, which is being able to furnish the needs of future generations while at the same time protecting the environment, which is critical to us all. So thank you very much.
So as our final touch to finish the evening, it's truly my pleasure personally to be standing here tonight and have the opportunity to honor Tad Toby. We're very appreciative to Tad, to his wife Diane, and to the rest of the family who has joined us this evening. As a fellow Jew and as a fellow descendant of Polish immigrants, it means a lot to me to have the opportunity to honor Tad and his legacy, not only everything he's done for Stanford and for the real estate community and for being truly an icon of the community, but also for everything that he has done for the Jewish immigrant community and for the Jewish community back in Poland. So you'll see a lot of this come out in the video. I found this a very personally touching video tribute to Tad, and I'll let the video take it away from here and tell the rest of the story. Thank you.
Tad is a problem solver. He's constructive. He's always trying to see how to make something better.
He really loves people, and he wants to do whatever he possibly can to help everybody.
Have a good time. A very unassuming guy. I think the first impression I had of him was I wanted to go out and buy him some clothes because Tad was in jeans and you wouldn't find him in Neiman Marcus shopping there.
A thoughtful, probing, almost relentless study of any opportunity and process, and an extraordinary good taste in people.
He's a remarkable person, a slightly too conservative for me, but I think everyone who knows him understands.
Tad can see other viewpoints, but not for terribly long. He is an articulate conservative and impatient with what he thinks is destructive political correctness.
I love talking to Tad about his own personal history, which is a great American success story, pulling yourself up by the bootstraps. And, it's clear everything he is and everything he does today comes directly out of that.
I was born in Krakow, Poland, which was the ancient capital city. The family moved to Warsaw. My mother and father were on a business trip in the United States.
when they got to New York and kind of had a chance to think about what was going on in Europe at that time, I think they got a sense about it that maybe the people that were living in Poland and Eastern Europe probably didn't get. I made a real significant effort really to subsume my early childhood and become, you know, an all-American kid. I mean, I fell in love with the United States of America. I didn't want to be thought of as a refugee. My father asked me when I was about 17 about college. He said, "You thought about college?" I said, "Yeah, I'm going to UCLA." He says, "You're going to Stanford?" And I said, "Yes, sir," because that's the way it was. I was in a European authoritarian household. I think what Stanford does is they really work very hard at making a complete person. There's so many things in life that are reflexive, and a lot of those things that I think about or try to think about really probably came to me from my Stanford days.
He had this large piece of land in Sacramento that he was telling me about in 2006. And as the breakfast evolved, he said to me, "Boy, this is getting a little bit pricey. Maybe I ought to sell the whole thing." I, of course, thought nothing of it. But he did tell me that he sold it a couple months later, and that was 6 months before the housing market crashed. Pretty awesome timing. Fast forward 2 years to another breakfast. He's telling me the same piece of land is being sold for 20 cents on the dollar, and he thinks he ought to buy it back. Sure enough, he does. He called the bottom. Pretty good round trip on one large property.
I think my first real entree into the big time in terms of being able to deal at levels that I'd never really experienced before was when Joe and Stephanie Corrett engaged me to essentially manage their wealth. Proudest or most significant moment was actually a apartment complex, a large complex that I acquired with Joe and Steffi Corrett. The foundation had about an 80% interest in that property. We just sold the 80% interest recently for approximately $100 million. The cost of that 80% interest in 1971 in cash was approximately $1.5 million.
He's very deliberate. He likes to manage all his own properties. The curb appeal and the maintenance is really tight. He plays for the long game.
My first really major philanthropic gift anywhere was here at Stanford when I contributed a significant amount of money to the purchase of the Barone collection of Judaica from Salo Baron, who was the father of Jewish studies at Columbia University.
I remember when he got the Scopus Award many years ago, which is given by the Hebrew University in Jerusalem, and that's the highest honor in Jewish philanthropy.
I would say that my philanthropy has been driven by, first of all, an ever-increasing sense of Jewish awareness. Certainly that drove my major involvement in Poland and Israel, and in the local Jewish world.
He has helped me in some of my campaigns and others from the Catholic faith. When I was one of the campaign leaders for an endowment campaign at Santa Clara University, he and the Corrett Foundation made a 7-figure gift to Santa Clara University.
He's very passionate about education. He is someone who believes that we should do everything possible for kids who otherwise might not achieve their full potential.
If he gave $10 to a poor person on the street corner, he'd first ask him what he was going to do with the money. He wanted to know where it was going and how it would be spent, and his giving has always been goal-oriented.
He came over to breakfast at my house on campus, just the two of us there, and I made him scrambled eggs. He loved them, and he keeps talking about my scrambled eggs, wants to come back and have another invitation. And I said, "Look, I taught you how to do it. Are you so dumb you can't learn how to keep and cook scrambled eggs?"
My daughter Anne was at a dinner party, and she happened to be seated next to Tad. And she said to him, "You look a lot like my dad." And so she happened to be at the time founder of, and still is, founder of 23andMe. It's a genetics company. So she sent him a kit. He was related. And he was related to her, but more importantly, of course for me, he was related to me. We were all shocked.
So I was selling an asset once, and he wanted to buy it. And he's a tough negotiator. So we were within, I mean, I'm not going to say $1, but it had to be close to $1. And we fought like cats and dogs. So we finally said, we're so close, let's get this together. And we did it, we made the transaction, and we've been laughing about that ever since.
You really can't put your finger on a single legacy, because the thing about Tad is he's had such a big imprint. I mean, at Stanford, so many things. It's not just seeing the Toby Corrett signs in different places, but knowing what's behind them, whether it's Hoover or Hillel or the tennis courts or the law school. He's been a contributor to everything.
There's no question that building the museum in Warsaw has to be his single most remarkable achievement because of the time and energy and effort and his commitment to really highlighting the contribution of the Polish Jews through the 1,000 years of history in Poland.
It's essentially become my life's work here in the last decade or so. Its meaning, I think, it goes beyond its meaning to me. I think that this has great meaning to the Jewish people as a whole.
I think he would like to be remembered as he will be, as he deserves to be, as a man of passion for good deals and for good causes.
He has the legacy of support for worthwhile ideas. He has the legacy of the kind of philanthropist who doesn't simply give resources, but if it's worth giving resources, it's worth spending some personal time.
To be able to escape a very bad situation that probably would have meant certain death for me, and to integrate myself into the American culture seamlessly and be involved in a nation and a country that has offered so many opportunities to me. So I guess all the components of that would be a definition of pride. I'm immensely satisfied.
It's an honor for me to invite up two of Tad's colleagues and friends who are, both of them, legends here in the real estate community of Silicon Valley in California. First, I'd like to invite George Marcus, chairman of Marcus & Millichap Company and chairman of Essex Property Trust. And following George, we will invite John Sobrato, founder and principal of the Sobrato Organization. As you know, the Sobrato Organization is a preeminent developer here in the Silicon Valley. I'd like to invite George and John to come forward.
Dad, I got you now. You know, this has been way too serious this evening. Come on, give me a break. Is Stanford this serious? Come on, please. We have known each other for an awfully long time, and the video you just saw is absolutely true. We have negotiated over the years. I'm in the apartment ownership and operations business, and he has been very active in that business as well. And I must admit, you've been tough. This so close stuff didn't work because you always got what you wanted. I didn't get anything I wanted. This was awful. Tonight I'm going to pay you back. That's it. That's it. That's it. Very tough, no.
2 minutes, George.
2 minutes. You know, that table's been keeping time. Stanford people cannot keep time. No, this is terrible. This is good. As you may or may not know, Marcus & Millichap is a brokerage company. So Tad and I have gotten to know each other over literally almost 40 years now, Tad. It's been really terrific. And he knew that I operated a brokerage company, and he said, I'm sure, privately to himself, if he can operate a brokerage company, I can do better than that. So we bought a brokerage company called BT Commercial. He improved BT, and he doesn't remember this, but he told me, he said, you know, that industry is the most unprofessional industry I've ever seen. So he put one of his executives in charge. He did the strategy. They quadrupled the revenue, and he sold it for an enormous multiple of what he bought it for, and that meant more philanthropy dollars for all the causes you've been engaged in. But the best experience, one of the really remarkable experiences I've had is I've been working like all of you have, and those of you who are students are going to be working hard. You know, 24/7 is not uncommon in the real estate industry. And there's nothing God graceful about our business. Our business is tough. You know, it's subject to all the rules of everything else. So, but somehow Tad was very, very concerned about the community, the broader community, the global community, the Jewish community, his legacy here at Stanford. And I knew that, and I had never been involved in philanthropy. And I asked him, maybe it's about 5 or 6 years ago, I think. And, you know, we periodically have lunch, and I said, would you just sort of educate me a little bit about philanthropy? And I learned a word. It's called collaborative funder. Here's what a collaborative funder is. It's coming. Here's a collaborative funder. So you saw about the remarkable Jewish museum that he initiated and financed. And I go over there with him, and I've been very engaged, and before you know it, I am the investor of the kosher restaurant in the Jewish Museum. So I began to figure this out slowly. You know, I'm just not as quick as Dad. So the philanthropy I learned was Tad's philanthropy. So everything he likes, I give money to. So this is the best thing that's ever happened. I tried to keep it light tonight, and I meant it. I'll save a couple of serious words. Our best investment together was the USFL, though. You still owe me for that. Oh, you can imagine. I want you to imagine this. There's about 10 investors. We're sitting there. I think you raised $10 million. And I wanted to know what the lowest investment was. And you said, no, you can't invest that much. No, it's too little. I said, okay, no. Call me back the next day. We'll take it. And then they would sit around. All the investors would sit around. When they take us from $10 million into the NFL, we're going to make $1 billion. I'm thinking, no. There is a substance they're smoking that I don't know about, because there's no chance. 3 years later, it went poof. But that's okay. It was one of those, no, it was really wonderful, because those $5,000 hot dogs, nice. In all seriousness, Tad, our lives, all of our lives, are richer and more fulfilled because of you, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Our industry, you've contributed enormously to the real estate industry. You've helped the community at large. And you really live by the words that Aristotle believed a fulfilled life would be. And that's surrounded by wonderful friends, beautiful family, and contribute to the community. Thank you, thank you, thank you for what you do.
Well, we were instructed to spend 2 minutes. George stole my time.
No, I did not. No, is that 2 minutes? No.
Oh, that might be a Greek 2 minutes.
All right.
Yeah. Anyway, we all know how astute Tad has been in the real estate business, but let me just give you an example of how smart this guy was, how adaptive he was when he came over when he was 8 years old from Poland. He arrived in New York. He only could speak German and Polish. So what does his parents do? They sent him to a summer camp up in upstate New York. He was up there for two and a half months, wasn't it, Tad? Couldn't speak a word of English. He was able to assimilate with the rest of the kids. He came back after 2.5 months, and he was fluent in English. That gives you an idea of how smart this guy is. Also, we talked about his philanthropy. I can tell you, it's not strictly Jewish causes or conservative causes. We mentioned his 7-figure gift to Santa Clara University, where I went to school. But not only that, he's been on the board at USF in San Francisco, Notre Dame in Belmont, and he, frankly, spreads his money around. And I'm delighted to have Tad as a friend and to be able to work on a number of common projects. So, Tad, you certainly deserve this accolades this evening. And with that, I'm going to close. Thank you.
Amazing.
Oh, Tad, it's your turn. Come on up to the stage, please.
Well, good evening, sports fans. You know, I don't think I've had anybody say so many nice things about me since I was bar mitzvahed. And actually, you know, George is right. I hate wearing a tie and I hate wearing jackets, and, you know, I'm a jeans and t-shirt sort of guy. And so I want you to know that my gift to all of you is that I wore my bar mitzvah suit tonight. Okay? Well, first of all, just as a normal order of business, I really very greatly appreciate, George, your wonderful comments, and John, your friendship and the things that we've done together are very, very special for me. I really appreciate the honor that has been bestowed on me, a Jewish refugee from Poland, if you will, with a little bit extra on the side. And I really am grateful to Spire and to Fred Allen and Andy Wahlberger for recruiting me to have this extraordinary evening. It's a very special experience for me. It's particularly special because I'm here with friends and family, and I've had the opportunity to, you know, to have just about everybody in this room, you know, enrich my life. I want to just say a couple things. First of all, for my co-honoree this evening, Bob Lowe. First of all, Bob, I'm honored to be here, recognized along with you. You're an example for all of us. The empire that you've built, the relationships that you've developed with your family, the warmth that you've engendered with your sons. You know, it's not easy to have two sons in business with you. I'm sure that there's been some issues and problems from time to time, but you've managed to do it with grace and with style, and I admire you for that, and I thank you for joining me in this great evening tonight. While I'm on that subject, I apologize to Aspire for a no-show at the induction in Los Angeles. Just so happened that this event has spanned two different evenings, one in Los Angeles in late October and tonight. And unfortunately, or fortunately, for which, however, you know, it looks to me and to my family, I was part of a mission to Warsaw to celebrate the international grand opening of the extraordinary Jewish Museum in Warsaw. And I couldn't be in two places at once. And so, again, my apologies for missing, but I understand that my dear friend Governor Pete Wilson did an extraordinary job in receiving the induction in my behalf, and I'm very grateful to him, and he is indeed a dear friend. You did something in your comments that I really totally agree with, and I think what you did is you painted a tapestry of all of the people in your life that have shaped you and have helped you in your business and have philosophically made you the individual that you are. And you know that there's no question that that's a universal truth. We are not citizens on an island. We live in a community with friends, business associates, partners, and what have you that in effect make it possible for us to do what we think we need to do in order to build our reputations, give back to the community, and do all of the things that those of us that have been fortunate to accumulate the means to do something for others, are inclined to do. So I was going to introduce everybody that has played a role in my life. Most of you are here this evening. I'm just going to limit it a little bit because of the lateness of the hour to recognizing my beautiful wife, Diane. Diane, maybe you could stand. And you know, Diane, it's not easy to be married to me. Let me say that. Not easy to do anything with me. Diane has weathered, many, many days when, I'm not around the house very much. She has had to tolerate, in many cases, an absentee father, which, is painful, but it happened to me, and I, looking back on it now, it's one of the things that I'd like to change if I could. However, I do have two wonderful sons here tonight that represent my total brood of 6 children. So Mark and Sean, if you could just stand, I'd appreciate. Sean. My children, by the way, there's a little vignette there, a little story about me that I think is special. My youngest just celebrated his 12th birthday, and my oldest, Mark, is here today, and Mark is 58. And I think that's pretty good night's work. 57? Are you sure? Is it 58 or 57? Yeah, sure. Diane is sitting next to her father, who is a very dear person in my life. And when I was getting ready to ask for Diane's hand in marriage, being of the old country, I thought I had to do this in the traditional way. So I went to visit Gus, and I said, Gus, your daughter Diane and I have been spending a lot of time together, and with your blessing, we'd like to get married. And he beamed and said, gee, that's wonderful, that's terrific, it's going to be great having you in the family. And I said, not so fast. There is one thing I want to ask you about. And he said, what is it? And I said, do you mind if I call you Daddy? So that's just a special little personal story that I thought you'd appreciate. With reference to this evening, one of the things that I've been privileged to do at Stanford is to do a lot of things at Stanford. And I was reminded when I walked in here to the Rehnquist courtyard that Larry Kramer, who was the prior dean of the Stanford Law School, wonderful scholar, and I would say on the liberal side of the political equation. He knew, obviously, that I was sort of one of the members of the vast right-wing conspiracy. And so he said, we have an opportunity here at Stanford for you. Judge Rehnquist, one of the great justices of the Supreme Court, and we've got this new law school. This law school was in the process of construction. We're going to have a Rehnquist courtyard, and we'd like to have you help us with the relief of Judge Rehnquist. So there is a relief of Judge Rehnquist out there in the courtyard, which sort of symbolizes the name of the courtyard, and I'm very proud to have been involved in making that happen. Actually, you know, I had a lot of other things that I wanted to tell you about, but out of the lateness of the evening, I'm simply going to thank you, and I'm going to particularly thank the various people that are here that have come out for me, and you know, my dear business associates and partners, and people that really have made a huge difference in my life, which I have heartfelt appreciation for. And if it were not for the lateness of the hour, although I did talk to Fred Allen about possibly postponing this recognition of me till the year 2015, but he thought we ought to get it over with tonight. So one other thought, the film that you saw tonight made several references to my love of this great country of ours. And indeed, if you stop and think about the various stories that we've heard here tonight and the successes of the individuals that have the privilege of coming to this great campus, and the careers that they managed to fashion for themselves, there isn't a country in the world that would be possible in other than the United States of America. So God bless the United States of America, and God bless all of you. Thank you. Wait a minute, let me, I didn't give this speech.
Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you.
So it's with great pleasure that we present this plaque to Tad Toby to recognize him and his induction in the 2014 Stanford Real Estate Hall of Fame. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
And despite the theme of the evening, Go Beyond, we managed to actually not go beyond our completion time of 9:30. We're right on the dot. So we'll wrap up, say thank you very much. We appreciate your attendance. It's been an honor to be here, and have a wonderful evening. Take care.